I am a huge Barry Windsor Smith fan, and I wanted to take a look at what he says apparently is going to be his last comic book he'll ever do. Barry Windsor Smith, iconic artist, known for Conan, Weapon X, Rune. I mean, he did some Daredevil issues. He did some. God, he did a lot of stuff. And I kind of wanted to take a look at this book. And it's a very interesting one because Barry Windsor Smith said that this was a Hulk idea that he had, that Marvel pretty much said, screw you, we're not interested for whatever reason. That's what I've heard, not quite certain. And the other thing that's very interesting about this is that apparently, while making this comic, I mean, he was in agony when it came to creating it, and it took him quite a long time apparently as well. So, me being a fan of art and comic books, I just kind of wanted to take a flip through of this. It's going to be quite a long video, but I just kind of wanted to open it up, go through some pages, and kind of look at his artwork, and yeah, just kind of enjoy it. Not focusing on the story here, we're focusing on the art. Obviously, I very rarely focus on the story. Some comic books, I don't even read them. I just look at them for the art because I enjoy art. My thing is if I want to read, usually I'll read certain comics, or I mean, I've read this comic, but there are certain comic books that I read, and then there are certain comic books I look at. So I pretty much say, like, if I want to read, I will read a novel. Not saying that there aren't great written comics, because there absolutely are. Dark Knight Returns being one of them, or Sandman series being another series. But yeah, let's just kind of take a look at this. Barry Windsor Smith, end of the road, kind of going, this is it for me. Will that be true forever? I don't know. But he is getting up there in age, so let's kind of just take a look. This came out about like 2 years ago, I want to say. Gonna move that camera up just slightly. There we go. Okay. Okay. Try not to hit it again with my fucking head, if possible. All right. So hopefully you guys can see all of the great artwork here. I'm gonna try to step back as far as I possibly can and just kind of look at it. It's very difficult because I'm trying to look at it and flip through it. So, all right. Here's our first page. Man, the first thing I will say out of the gate is, like, it definitely feels like Barry Windsor Smith, but it also doesn't feel like Barry Windsor. It obviously feels like Barry Windsor Smith very deep into his career, which is great, but you can sort of see those Barry Windsor Smith faces there. So I enjoy that. Absolute total master with that cross hatching. Kind of reminds me of Bernie Wrightson. The funny thing is I always screw up Barry Windsor Smith and Bernie Wrightson all the time. I don't know why, but I do. And I enjoy them both. And yeah, I mean, look at that anatomy. That is a Weapon X fucking arm drawing there. And if you haven't read this, I mean, it is a very good read. It's a very interesting comic. He's also going crazy with that inking style and doing a lot of hatch work for shading, which I really enjoy. So apparently, I mean, this comic took him a very long time. Great storytelling there. I mean, just an absolute total master. I mean, he's been doing this for so long. I mean, it would shock me if he wasn't an absolute master. Such a bizarre, and that's the other thing is, like, in this comic, there are a lot of interesting panels that I can look at. I mean, it's just, man, look at that. Just a bizarre, wow. Very Weapon X-like again. Barry Windsor Smith loves drawing the guys connected to wires thing. There you go. You got those faces. Such a unique style in the face. I don't know if he intentionally does it to be like, yeah, I want you to know that this is me. But nobody draws faces like him. And he obviously can draw a face very well. But there are some times where you see that very like smooth type of face. It's hard to explain, but it's like that. So, anyways, amount of detail he's putting even on like that pillow there, and like the amount of lines. I mean, he's not using Zipatone or anything. He's literally hatching every single there, and I love the hatching on that book there. If you can see, hopefully I don't fuck everything up. But like it's individual. I mean, you can tell it's off, but it works, and it's very it pops like it's a very noticeable. I don't know if that's because I draw or what. So if you're a fan of like that, who's the guy? Was it Johnny Craig? Was the guy from EC who was very good EC Comics, horror comics, who did a lot of hatching like that. But if you're a big fan of that kind of stuff, you're gonna dig this. I mean, this is an inker's paradise. Like, reminds me a lot of Heinrich Klei and or Clay or Durer, you know. And that's the thing is Barry is definitely one of those guys who you can tell studied fine art. I love the inclusion of a Batman comic there. Just an amazing looking comic, and props to Fantagraphics for the way this is printed. This is printed extremely well. I actually sat with this comic for a long time and just kind of looked at it and didn't really read it. You know, I want to get my fill of Barry Windsor Smith because, man, and there's something so great about the way he tells a story. It's very human, which is kind of what I think a lot of comic books, especially mainstream comic books, lack. Great drawing there. I mean, I wish I could just get a piece like that. Like, imagine that as like a full page or 2-page spread. More great drawing, I would be. I mean, and every panel looks like there was so much labor put into it. I watched an interview with Barry Windsor Smith. He feared when he got up that like he couldn't draw, and there were days where he felt like he could not draw, like he had lost it. And I'm just looking at this and going, "Your worst day is probably my best day." It's great, just amazing, amazing storytelling. Great art. I love the way he draws those cars. It's just Barry Windsor Smith can draw anything. He absolutely can. And I mean the designs for these masks are so cool, and that lighting. Look at the lighting. I mean, man, great lighting to tell you kind of what something is made out of, the material. Just an absolute master. That's got to be a difficult thing to deal with. I mean, like, because he's getting up there in age, you know? And it's like, it's got to be a very difficult realization to kind of be an older guy who's dedicated your life to something and sort of looking at it and going, I don't have much time left. It's got to be a very depressing feeling. But maybe it's also kind of, but you can look back at your work and just be very proud of it, I suppose. It must be very difficult to deal with, you know, especially when somebody is such a master like this. I know when Da Vinci died, he wished that he could live longer because there was so much that he wanted to do. I mean, look at this, man. God. What a fucking master. I mean, that's like a drawing that like Frank Miller, as much as I love Frank Miller, that's like if Frank Miller could draw amazing. And I think Frank Miller's an amazing artist, but it's like Frank Miller probably looks at this and goes, man, I wish I could draw this. And I think a lot of us think that way. But even like professionals who are extremely successful and are great in their own right would look at this and go, I can't fucking draw like this, you know. Man, it has such a feeling to it. My only wish is I wish that the borders were black, you know, but maybe it would have been too much black on one page. I'm a sucker for anybody who can draw great glass shattering or breaking. Just, you know, going through that gate. Great lettering, too, by the way. I'm pretty sure he lettered this as well, which is extremely impressive. I could be wrong on the lettering, but, man, just such great story. Oh, man. I've already said it, but look at that drawing there. When I opened this book up, too, I was like, this doesn't feel like Barry Windsor Smith. But the more you go into it, you get stuff like this. You go, that's Weapon X. By the way, who the fuck learns to draw that? Imagine, imagine, because I'm a figure guy. I love drawing the figure. Imagine going, I gotta draw a fucking plane or a helicopter or whatever the fuck that. I gotta draw that today. Man, look at that fucking anatomy. Just drink that in for a second. Look at that Bridgman-like anatomy where, like, it's locking into the deltoid is locking in, and like you have that overlap of that tricep and that biceps under there, and then you have the overlap of the forearm muscle going into that cube that's the wrist, and those Kirby like hands. I mean, it's just unfucking believable, and that head and the motion of that neck coming down. I mean, it's shit like that just makes you go, my God, I fucking suck at drawing compared to Barry Windsor Smith. And will I ever be as good as this guy? I don't know. And I guarantee you, if you showed this to Barry Windsor Smith, it'd be like, man, I love this. This is like the best thing you did. You'd probably be like, that's not even that's garbage. Because he seems like he's a modest guy. Not like one of those fake modest guys. Like, he really seems like everything he does is shit. And if you think that's shit, then your understanding is, well, I don't know. But, yeah. But, you know, imagine being critical of that. Imagine having that much experience under your belt, that much skill under your belt, and just being like, it looks okay. I look at that and I go, if I could draw like that, if I drew a piece like that, and I died the next day, I would die a happy person. More great fucking lettering, by the way, and just, man, he's so good at kind of giving you that, like, dead, cold winter feel. Another great drawing. It must have been a pretty easy day for him that day. But even that, like, he didn't even take, like, the easy road out. I mean, he's like, okay, I'm going to add a deer or something there. You know? Just for composition purposes. Man, I love that. It does remind me of, like, Sin City. I mean, look at that snow. It's just, so good. So good. Man. I mean, why would Marvel ever go, we're not interested in you're Barry fucking Windsor Smith. That shows you how fucking stupid Marvel is. Shows you how you're going to turn down Barry Windsor Smith? Doing the Hulk? Are you fucking stupid? I was going to use another term there, but, you know. Man. Just such, oh my God. I would be afraid to do that. Like, oh man, I just drew this awesome, like, character with great structure, great, like great form, great anatomy, and now I'm just gonna hatch it out. Let me know if you've read this, by the way, and what you think of it, and what you think of Barry Windsor Smith. And who's your favorite comic book artist, and why is it Barry Windsor Smith? And you said Neil Adams. That's a funny way to say Barry Windsor Smith. I love that. Like, no lines on that kid's face at all, by the way. Maybe it's like one of those things where he's like, children are innocent and adults are all fucked up. So, like, he still has the potential. But then again, that kind of goes out the window because there's no lines on that dude's face. So just ignore what I just said. Hopefully I'm not at a weird angle here. If I am, I apologize. But it's very difficult to set up the camera. Some more great drawing. Amazing drawing. I mean, it's just like, it's, one of these days I'm going to go through Weapon X, which I think is one of the most brilliantly drawn comic books ever made. Yeah, great. I like a guy who can draw great stairs. I also love that. I love that composition there. Sort of that. It's just so simple, but it has like that very like Universal monster movie, because it puts you in that world. It puts you in that like days of like Dracula and Frankenstein and whatever, Wolfman, and it has that Universal monster feel to it, and I love it. And that's exactly what he's trying to get. The gentleman who I always confuse him with, Bernie Wrightson, just their names. I know exactly who they are, and I know exactly what they've done. I just, for some reason, I'm like, Bernie Wrightson, Barry Windsor Smith. But Bernie Wrightson never got to read this, and I'm sure Bernie Wrightson would have been like, wow, this dude is insane. And that's fucking Bernie Wrightson, man. Man, look at that sequential storytelling. Just great stuff. And you can tell, like, the proportions are not perfect, but it looks great. It looks amazing. Just great stuff. I have so many pages left. But we're only halfway to 30 minutes, so a little over half. So hopefully we'll get to this relatively quick. Great drapery, by the way, as well. This reminds me of like a Tony Moore art piece. I can definitely see Tony Moore being a fan of Barry Windsor. Who is not a fan of Barry Windsor Smith, really? Man, I just look at this stuff and it makes me want to make comics, which you would think it would make you want to do the exact opposite. It would make you want to quit making comics or making art. You go, man, this guy's just too good. I'm never going to be this good. But this is an example of a guy who just busts his ass. I mean, you look at those early Conan comics, no offense, but they just look like shitty Jack Kirby, right? By like issue like 13 or 14, you start going, oh, okay, he can draw. And then I think he makes up to like issue 30 or 25, somewhere around there. He's fucking pretty much Barry Windsor Smith by that point. But when you read that first issue of Conan, man, he is not even close to Barry Windsor Smith. And, I mean, that shows you hard work. And honestly, like, just do it. Just go out and fucking do it. And if you do it for a million years, like Barry Windsor Smith, one day you will be this good. The amount of time you had to put into it, probably 16 to fucking 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for 50 years. But it definitely pays off for sure. Just such an interesting choice to do the cross-hatching as kind of like the inking tool. Man, look at that. That has to be, the white has to be done for the floorboards. Like the cracks in the floor, or the separation of the floorboards. Man, that's just unbelievable. I mean, this is kind of like the perfection of a comic book. You want to read I mean, look at that rain, by the way. Sorry, I keep interrupting myself. Such great rain. I've always said that I think that Brian Boland might do the best rain. I don't know if I believe that anymore. Um, but the thing is like that's what you want out of a comic. You want a comic book that's man, look at that. You want a comic book that's really well drawn and written, and it's such a rarity. I feel like in comic books, and it's really sad that it's so rare. But man, being very, very bold with the amount of panels he's putting on a page, but it works. Man. I mean, the amount of cross hatching he's doing and the amount of hatching he's doing on these pages is insane, and it's such a ballsy. I mean, look at that. She's laying on the bed. I mean, look at the cloth, like the drapery of the blanket. Yeah, it just looks so good. And the thing that looks the worst is the pillows, and they even look good. And I mean, look at that. He's I mean, that's such, ah, man, amazing fucking artwork. Just so damn good. So good. We have more snow here. One of the best cups of tea in comics ever. Maybe. It has such a winter feel to it, too. I love it. And look at the amount. Oh my god, look at the amount of ink on that page. There's very little white there. Very little white. Man, sorry, I'm just reading it myself. I'm looking at it myself and getting so. Man, look at that staircase and look at the breaks in the wood, the staircase. Little details like that. That's what makes a great artist. Look at that fucking panel right there. Look at this panel here. Holy shit. Look at that panel there. Wow. Sorry if I'm covering it up. The amount of drawing that has gone into this is insane. Look at that. Look at even the drawing of the look at the rug. This is dedication. I don't know how many. I think this took him like 30 years to do. Took him quite a long time to do. I mean, and is it shocking? Man. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Just unbelievable. Man, look at that. Just great storytelling, great composition, great everything. Wow. When I read comics, I usually don't. I try my best to pay attention to the art. And then I go back and I kind of just look at the artwork. And I'm just blown away. I mean, this is a real treat. I mean, this is this is seeing a master at his greatest. And that's the thing about art too, is like it's one of those things where you get better at it over time. It's not like you get worse at it or you kind of get lazy with it. I'm sure there are artists who do get lazy with it, but you know, when you see these artists, like I think Neil Adams is an example, I think, of an artist who kind of got a little lazy as time went on. But I mean, the amount of discipline. I mean, Barry Windsor Smith does not need to do this. That's the thing that like it's so shocking about it. Is like I'm not going to talk about the guy's financials because I'm assuming that well, whatever. I don't know anything, but I'm assuming he's doing quite well, and was doing quite well. He's just doing this because he wants to do this. He wants to tell this story, and the amount of effort that he put into this is unfucking believable. I mean, look at that. Just look at the action there. Man. Wow. Just amazing. I really, really think this is one of the best drawn comics ever. Unbelievable. I mean, the amount of effort that was put into it and hatching, and like the way that he could just put you in this world and you get lost in it. If you have not read this comic, I would advise you to go out and get it because it is insane. Got a little bit lazy there. And there you go. So he did X-Men, Daredevil. I could have sworn he did some X-Men comics. Actually, I think I'm gonna do a video on his X-Men work. Obviously Conan. Um, I mean, he's done a ton of stuff. That included Bernie Wrightson, Mike Kaluta, Jeffrey Jones. But yeah, I mean, he's man, insane. What an insane artist. I mean, just amazing. If you have not checked this comic book out, I would advise you to absolutely check it out. It's a relatively cheap comic. It's not that expensive at all. I also love how it's, you know, it's just very nicely sewn in there, which is good because that's how all comic books, especially this size, should be treated. Man, Barry Windsor Smith, one of those guys that you wish he did more, but the amount of stuff that he gives you and what he gives you isn't. I mean, the stuff that he gives you is just insanely good, insanely detailed. It said that he had not put out a comic book for 16 years. That's quite a long time. And yeah, I am. Yeah, it's anytime I look at his artwork, I'm absolutely blown away. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I would advise you to pick it up at some point. It's relatively cheap. I think you pick it up for like $30. I picked it up, I think, like the first week it came out. Very happy that I did. And yeah, I mean, it's a master at the end of his at the end of the road, and he is putting so much effort into it. He's putting in the effort of a 20-year-old. Or whatever. I guess a younger person who is just hungry. A hungry 20-year-old who wants to make comics. And he's got to be 70 something. So, I mean, it's unbelievable. And can you still fucking believe that Marvel said, no, we're not interested? Whatever, man. Your loss. Fantagraphics gain, I suppose.